My name's Nicki. It's a complicated situation because on Monday I just changed rules. So my new title is Senior Software Engineer for the Amplify team, but previously I was like last Friday, I was a Senior Technical Evangelist at AWS, which basically is just like a funny way of saying a developer that can talk to people. So that's what I was doing for the last almost 2 years, so developer relations type work. But now I'm going back to full-time engineering, and I'm going back to Amplify, and Amplify is what I'm going to show you today, and it's like the coolest thing ever, and I'm going to tell you why. So first thing, what the hell is Amplify? You're probably asking yourself the question. I'm going to explain it. Okay, so Amplify is the easiest and fastest way to develop on AWS. It's tailored to the person that knows nothing about AWS and maybe only knows like a front-end framework, React, Vue, Angular, or mobile, iOS, Android, fill in the blank. And everything on Amplify is categorized for you, so you don't have to know the names of AWS services to take advantage of the amazing cloud. Sorry, were you raising your hand? No, you're good. Okay, never mind. Okay, so Amplify is broken up into 3 parts. There are 3 parts to Amplify. So the first thing is a CLI tool. The CLI tool I'm going to live demo for you in a couple of minutes, but the CLI tool will help you add things in your backend. So you can say things like add auth, short for Authentication and Authorization, and you don't need to know that there's a service in the backend called Cognito that works, and basically it is an opinionated framework. So you go through your CLI, it's like tailored questions like, would you like your users to log in through email? Yes, brilliant. And then you do Amplify push, just like you do git push, and we actually provision those resources for you in the cloud. And that's basically how it works. So that's the CLI tool. Then the second part of Amplify is a library, or a set of libraries, tailored to your specific framework. So if you're a React dev, we have React libraries. If you're a Vue dev, and so on, you get the picture. And the libraries will help you actually take advantage of those resources that you created in the cloud in your actual code. So if you did something like Amplify add storage, and now you need to actually put an image into storage, you do storage.put. Very, very, makes sense. It all matches. All the categories go together. The third part of Amplify is probably my favorite, pre-built UI components. If you just started your development journey, you may not have done this a million times, but if you've been a developer for a long time, you've probably built a sign-in page over 1 million times. It looks the same. There's an email, a password, a forgot password, a create account. It's the same for UI pages that you're going to create with the same functionality. Guess what? We built it for you, 1 line of code to insert it in. I'm going to show you that today. Okay, so this is a little bit of what I said. You provision and manage your cloud services using the CLI tool, and then you integrate them into your app. So this would be the library code in JavaScript. We offer a comprehensive set of capabilities. So again, you do not need to know the names of the ridiculous AWS service names. There's like 1 million of them. All you need to know is these categories. So I need authentication. Great. That's the name of the category. I need storage. And so on. It's very generic, abstract terms for the categories that make complete sense to the non-AWS developer, or we hope so anyways. Okay, so one of my favorite categories just came out, and it is called Amplify Predictions. And it is my favorite category because how many people in this room have machine learning development experience? Cool. Now, everybody's going to raise their hand because how many people can actually write JavaScript? Brilliant. You all can take advantage of machine learning today, and that is with Amplify Predictions. So there's no machine learning experience required. Y'all know how to use an API, right? Yep, every hand went up. Great. You know how to use predictions, and you're going to be able to do it today. So I'm going to give you a couple examples, and then I'm just going to dive right into a live demo because that's way more fun than me standing up here talking. Okay, so if I were to say Amplify add predictions, right? Predictions is the name of the category. That's always what I say, Amplify add, in my project. So imagine I have a React project. And then please select from one of the categories below. What would you like to do? Like what kind of machine learning stuff? I'm like, oh, I want to identify. Okay? And then it's like, well, what do you want to identify? Do you want to identify text, entities, labels? I want to identify labels. And then, you basically go through, you walk through the the questions. It's an opinionated framework, meaning it's going to continue to prompt you and ask you questions. And then once you're done, it says successfully updated, and you do Amplify push, and the resources are created for you, and you can now take advantage of them in JavaScript with that chunk of code, all documented for you in our beautiful docs. They're actually on GitHub. The Amplify team is one of the only AWS teams to rebel against traditional AWS documentation, and we host our docs in GitHub, which I feel like is just it's so soothing to my soul. If you've ever worked on AWS at all and you've like read our documentation, it's like trash. It's the worst thing you've ever seen. And so the fact that they just like broke from tradition and they were like, screw this, we're not doing this, we're gonna host our docs on GitHub, is just, it's a magical experience for, at least for me and hopefully for you guys. Okay, let's do it. Hopefully I have everything installed. It's gonna be interesting. So resolution is gonna be tricky here. Oh my god. Okay.
I think you need to, then you can zoom.
I am zooming. That was zoomed.
Or change your display resolution.
Should I do that?
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna look weird on the TV. Well, first of all, let's
That's how it works on mine.
I
make
thought
this
you
smaller
zoom
before we
on your
suddenly can't see it in
monitor.
the view anymore.
Yeah.
Just your monitor.
No. Display symbol. Tried it. On Windows, I only have the whole built-in thing.
Oh shit. Oh, it's this little tiny thing right here.
There you go.
Okay, we're in business. Should have done that before. Okay. Can everyone see my terminal?
Yes.
Bigger? Anyone want this bigger? No, we're all good with this. Let's get rid of PowerPoint. Alright, so I'm gonna go to my main projects folder. This is where I keep all my coding projects. And we're gonna create a new React app, provided that npx just installed correctly. Great. What should we call this? Riverside Meetup? What's the name of this meetup?
IESD.
IESD.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, it did something great. Okay, fine. Let's do this. Whatever. By the way, this is like an open environment. You don't need to wait till the end to ask questions. If you have questions, just shout it out. Especially because we're going to be sitting here while these things install. I can answer questions on anything. AWS, Amplify.
Where's the best resource to like start learning AWS?
This one. Yeah. Funny story, right? Okay. So now we gotta install the node packages.
What's the reason why you chose a Mac over Windows?
I mean, I can use both. I prefer like Bash, and I like know Linux commands, so it's like easier for me to use a Mac. But I also know Windows commands since I was .NET dev. I don't know. I just switched over, and it's like been better. I'm traditionally like an Apple person. I met Amy working at the Apple store, so I'm like a huge fan. If you like couldn't tell. So it's probably going to be a Mac, but I used a Windows machine for all development for like 3 years, maybe 4 actually. Yeah, I mean, I just prefer it. I feel like it's just, the commands are easier for me to remember. Like, for example, like ls is list all the contents of wherever I am, right? And then on Windows, it's dir, directory. That's just so like unnatural. Like, I don't feel like that's, like list is like, yeah, I want the list, show me the list. Like directory is like, You have to remember the proper way to call it, or like, I don't know, it's just dumb. I feel like it's dumb. Okay, we're getting somewhere. So let's open this up in code. And let's run it. We're just gonna have a basic React app to start with. Okay, working, great. So now we're gonna go back to our terminal and we're gonna type Amplify init. Okay, this is me praying that it's, okay, it did work. Okay, so now it's gonna walk me through that opinionated walkthrough. So enter a name for the project. It's already detected that IESD is what I've named the React app. So it's asking me, did you want to name it that? I'm just gonna click enter. Enter a name for the environment, dev. What's your default editor? Mine is VS Code. You can talk about preferences if you have specific preferences. Choose the type of app that you're building. Definitely JavaScript right now. React, it's already like detected that I'm using React, so notice how it's like already on it. My source directory, so it knows the traditional one for React is called src. It knows the distribution path is build. Build command is usually npm run script build. We'll just leave all the defaults in here. And then did you want to use an AWS profile? I totally do. My default works. And now I'm initializing the project in the cloud. And now I can do things like amplify add, fill in the blank. So we're gonna add auth. And then maybe we'll add predictions. It's gonna be a little more on the UI side. I might steal some existing code I wrote. Oh, I should run that project for you. Okay, so while this is initializing, it's gonna take some time. Let me show you this other project I wrote. Okay, so this project is inside the components folder of this React project. There are multiple components: comprehend, poly, recognition, transcribe, and translate. Those are actually the names of our machine learning APIs, where you can take advantage of machine learning without knowing anything about machine learning. And so I wrote a React component that uses Amplify Predictions for every single one. So if I just run this guy, or not, oh, I know. So I'm gonna show you this code. I'll show you the repo that it's in a second, and you guys can jack it, reuse it, copy these components over once it loads. Okay, so basically these services are actually probably properly named, I feel like. Generally speaking, AWS services are terribly named, but these ones are pretty good. So comprehend is going to be sentiment analysis. Poly is going to be like, think of like Poly the parrot. It's going to turn text into speech. Transcribe is going to do exactly what it says, going to transcribe speech. Recognition, it's going to recognize objects, people, places, celebrities. And then translate, translates languages. So you can click on any of these components. This one's usually pretty fun to live demo. I have to allow Chrome the use of my camera. And then I can do things like, boom, it's detected with 99% confidence that there's a person in the picture, that I have some kind of soda, Coke, hot bottle. 82% of things it's alcohol, that's bad. How about the red Solo cup?
That's gonna detect more alcohol.
Okay, I'm gonna be out of the picture. It's gonna detect my arm though. Drink, beverage, hand. So, you know, there's a machine learning model in the back end of this, but it's basically just an API, and I didn't have to write that machine learning model. And you know, AWS is gonna, yes.
Can you do the pizza?
Totally.
Pizza, not pizza.
Oh, you gotta eat that one.
Oh, you chose a piece of cheese. That's a simple one.
Okay, which one do you want? Pizza, triangle, food. Which one do you want?
Mushrooms and stuff, if you have like
Put some pineapple on it.
pepperonis and stuff.
one with pepperoni, jalapeno, and pineapple.
Oh, there we go.
If it can recognize that, it's.
It hits color.
We could totally use this.
Wow. Lobster?
I'm 98% confident that it's pizza. So it, it brings up machine learning is
Where's
not
the
an
sea life?
exact science, in case you didn't know. It works on data. So the more data you train the model with, the higher percentage of accuracy it will have. And these models are actually pretty accurate because it's with 98% sure that it's a piece of pizza, which is exactly what it is, or food. And so what you could do with this is just a component to show you how it works. But you can actually take this code and then say, if confidence is 98% that it's pizza, do something else with your app, right? Take this person to another view and do something else.
That's cool.
So that's basically how it works. So
Wow.
this is also routed, so you can go, this one's always fun. Okay.
Hi everyone. What is that? Do you like pizza or AWS?
And we have like 25 different voices, and we have voices in different languages. So you can go in and, you can go into my code and go to Poly and change the voice. I have it on Justin right now, which is like this little tiny boy, Justin, and it's like my favorite voice for several reasons. But you can take this list with this link, go back to Chrome, and get another voice. So let's see, how about Nicole? English, she's Australian, so it's going to be an Australian accent. So we'll just go back to our app.
Hi there. What's up, mate?
You get the idea. They're all pretty fun. Translate is probably the most boring one because it's just going to translate the text to Spanish or French or whatever language you put in. I don't know what language that is actually. I think that might be Italian.
Yeah.
Well, I think I had it on Spanish, and then I did a demo and I changed it to Italian live because that sounds like something I would do. Let's see, what's the other one? There is comprehend. So comprehend does sentiment analysis. I think I have to give it accurate text. Or this one's just broken. That one might be broken. I just changed all this code live on Twitch, so I could probably fix it live. Predominant. Okay, so that's probably just, they may have changed the API because they just released this stuff and they changed all kinds of stuff. So let's just figure out what's in the result. Text interpretation dot sentiment. Undefined. That's fun. Okay, well the object was definitely wrong.
Put a couple more A's in the set.
So yes, not predominant. Now it's just showing up undefined. Maybe it's not sending properly. Anyways, you get the idea. I'll fix this code offline. I don't know what the hell is wrong with it. I think that was all of them. Transcribe. If you've ever used the SDK, transcribe is like one of the hardest ones to figure out how to use. So you're welcome, because it's all written in here. This is so much fun. Works. So that's those are the recognition components. But if we were to take our React app and let's just do something simple like add auth to it. Let's close this guy. And let's check out our Amplify code and do Amplify add auth. Okay, so now we're back in that opinionated framework asking me questions. So do you want to use the default authentication? Sure. You know, you can go through the process. If you say manual, it's going to keep asking you questions. If you say default with social provider, you can do like log in with Facebook, log in with Google, etc. And how do you want your users to be able to sign in? I usually go with email because that's pretty normal. Do you want to configure advanced settings? Not really now because I'm live, but maybe if I had a real app. So no, I'm done. So that now it's going to basically it's going to create a JSON object, which is called CloudFormation, that outlines the resource and all of the values that go along with that resource to provision it in the cloud. And it's going to send it to CloudFormation, where it will provision it, and all we have to do is say Amplify. We can do something like Amplify status to see what's going to be created when we do Amplify push. So under the category of auth, it's created a resource name, which is a bunch of random numbers and digits along with our project name. Operation it's going to create, so if it was an update, which you could totally do from the CLI tool, they would say update, also delete. And then the provider plugin is CloudFormation. The reason it gives you provider plugin is because Amplify is extensible in a way that you could actually write your own version of Amplify to use like GCP or Azure if you wanted to use their provisioning engines and not just AWS. Let's say you have like a multi-cloud environment. We like set it up for you that way, but we didn't actually build any of that stuff. You'd have to like go and extend the project. It wouldn't be too difficult though. So let's do Amplify push. And now it's actually gonna, I have to say yes, provision these resources in the cloud. While it's doing that, let's go ahead and actually install the, install the libraries that we are gonna need to actually use the authentication. And I'm gonna use the pre-built component too, because why the hell not? So, I love these docs. Again, these are the docs that are hosted on github.io. You won't find any other AWS docs hosted on GitHub. I can tell you that for a fact. So this is just configuring the CLI, and then these are the packages that we want. And then we just need to steal some import statements. All this code actually. So we're just going to throw these in our default component, which is just app. I don't have any other components in here. And then I'm going to steal this one. So it's probably not going to work until this is done. It's going to take a few minutes. But then once we start up the app again, we're actually going to be on a login screen, and we'll have to create an account or log in. All that stuff is just done. And you can customize the look of it and stuff. Like we obviously make it look like orange and gross AWS colors, but you could like essentially make it blue and whatever colors you wanted to, just using the docs. So this compiles, but it's not going to work yet. Oh. Well, it's not going to work until the backend resources are provisioned, but you get the idea of the front end. So this is what our app looks like now. And if I were to create an account, which I will when it's done provisioning, then it's just going to work like right out of the box. So all those users will be stored in Cognito, but you didn't need to have to know that, but they're all there. And you know, you have authentication and authorization built into your application, just right out of the box. A couple lines of code. Yeah.
So it's loading the HTML to your local machine, but the database and everything for your users is in the Amazon cloud?
So that was a two-part question. So the like UI here, like the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript that's pre-built, that was installed with those libraries. So that's the library part of Amplify. We're taking advantage of stuff that was just pre-built out of the box, and we can just one line refer to it. And then the actual like saving of those users and manipulating of those users is taking place in AWS Cloud.
I was saying, when you use that library, it initialized it on your local machine using like a get or something to pull it from the pre-built?
I just did npm install.
Okay.
npm install right here, AWS Amplify React.
Yeah, and
So,
that created the local files.
No. So this installed the libraries, which allowed me to refer to the components inside the library to pull up this UI. It's just a pre-built UI component. Just think about another React component. I'm installing it, and then I'm just importing it and using it, right? The actual like resources in the cloud are being created by that CLI. So like, see, all resources are updated in the cloud. So when I did Amplify add auth, and then I did Amplify push, that's when I actually created those backend resources in the cloud. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So now we can like go to our app, we can create a new account. I don't know why it's always says short key. It's just like a weird Google Chrome history default. So we'll just use my email, and I'll create a password, enter it again. And you can customize all these fields, right? Because that was that advanced settings and that manual configuration that I chose not to do. And then I need a confirmation code, so it already sets up all that for me, which is freaking excellent, because that's a pain in my butt. So there it is. And then now I can log in.
In that customization, can you send confirmation codes to phone numbers instead of email, or is it only?
I have to check the docs on that, but I could get you an answer. So now I'm logged in, and you can see that I didn't change anything in my main app, but I can also sign out. Right here I have this basically toolbar up above that is built-in authentication for me. So for me that's like a huge win, because like, how many times have you built this piece of an application? Probably a lot if you've been coding a long time. It's the same code every single time. It never changes. So that's like auth, but you know, we can do something like Amplify add storage, and like storage is going to be using S3, which is our storage service for like files, pictures, images, videos, PDFs, any kind of file. And so if you do Amplify add storage, it'll actually create a bucket for us in the cloud, and then we can use the library to put things in the bucket and save files. We can use analytics to analyze analytics of our web app. So all these categories, you can just do like Amplify. These are all the categories, and this is like a really broken situation, but it was supposed to look cool. I think it's broken because I'm zoomed in. No, it's just here. Anyways, so these are the categories, and you know, we have more coming all the time. I can also deploy this like really easily by saying Amplify add hosting, and then so I'm gonna get this deployed in like 5 seconds right now. So let's say dev, or I can do CloudFront using HTTPS, and then I have to give it a bucket name, but I should just never give it a bucket name because bucket names have to be globally unique in AWS, so I should just go with the default one that they picked for me. And then now if I say Amplify, publish, yes, it's gonna deploy it, and then I'll have a working URL. And then I can go in later on and add my custom domain and all those fun things, but yes.
Where's a bucket name?
So a bucket is it's just like a place to store things in AWS, in S3 specifically. So S3 is our storage service, and then S3 has buckets. Basically, just think about it like a file system online, and a bucket is a folder.
Okay.
And then you know, you can have a folder within a bucket, so you can have a folder within a folder like you can on your laptop. And so it's storing the code in a bucket and then hosting it for me. These are easy ones. I feel like I should do a harder one. But Amplify is pretty easy to use in general, so yeah. You had a question?
I was wondering, does that auth thing support two-factor?
Yes. Yeah, you can add MFA if you go through the manual configuration or the advanced settings. It's in one of them, I forget which one. But yeah, so the docs also are like really awesome. I'm gonna stress this because I've never seen amazing docs out of AWS before in my entire life until I saw Amplify, which is why I joined this team. And so this literally will walk you through step by step how to do pretty much everything you're looking to do. So like here, sign up, sign in with a phone number, and basically you just need to click on whatever it is that you'd like to do. Add analytics and storage. So we do support creating a REST API or GraphQL backend with Amplify, which is pretty incredible because maybe you're familiar with that stuff, but then you're not familiar with AWS services that you would need to do that. So like, for example, GraphQL service is called AppSync. Like, I don't know if anybody would have guessed that, but So, and you can add, you know, VR, AR stuff with Sumerian. You can add serverless functions. You can do a lot of cool things. And again, we're always adding more. And then you can just pick a category. Push notifications if you're building a mobile app, super helpful. So it does tell you at the top, by the way, like almost every doc, like what AWS service it is using, so that you could go to your AWS account and find that service and just look at the console if you need to refer back to something, or if something's not working, you need to test something. So that's why I feel like it's a great starting point, is like even if you didn't know which service to go to, if you read these docs, it's like, oh, this service is actually using Pinpoint, or this is using Cognito, and then you can go to Cognito. So like if I go to my console right now, and I can go to Cognito and like see that that project was created. See if we have a URL yet. Nope. Takes a while. I'm hoping they speed that up.
So it's gonna be on an Amazon URL?
It's gonna be on a CloudFront URL. CloudFront is, so if I chose dev, remember when it asked me if I wanted dev or prod?
Mm-hmm. You just went
Way
past it.
up.
It's down,
Did
down,
I?
down, there you go.
Right there.
Oh, this is when it asked me if I wanted dev or prod. So if you host a website in an S3 bucket, which is really easy to do, I can show you what that looks like once I get in the console. You have like an S3 bucket URL, right? But then what happens is if you put a lot of images on that site and you know, there's a lot of like content to load, it's gonna load slow if you're not close to wherever that bucket is, because AWS is regional. So let's say I created the bucket on the West Coast and then I'm trying to access that website on the East Coast. That website loads slow. So CloudFront is basically edge locations. So it'll like cache all your content at different edge locations all around the world so that it loads fast for everyone. Does that make sense? So I chose prod, which is gonna create the bucket and the CloudFront project for me as well, so that I can get that speedy, fast load everywhere.
That's like having a CDN, just what you're saying?
It's a CDN, yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what CloudFront is.
Yeah.
So it's creating the CloudFront distribution right now. Let's go to the console. Let's put visuals to some of these things I'm saying.
On the CDNs, are they, how many you have in California? One, Washington, one?
We have 118 points of presence, and it's like all over the world. You can look it up. CloudFront points. There we go. Well, that's from 2017. There's 118 now. Here you go. There's the map.
That's a lot for the States. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have a CloudFront distribution on top of your application, you're not gonna have an issue anywhere in the US. Trust me, I did it for my wedding website and people were everywhere, so. And there were a lot of images on that site.
And so this is on docs.aws.amazon or WordPress. I just click here looking at Simplify.
Which page? The Amplify? It's aws-amplify.github.io. And you wanna start with like the getting started stuff. Okay, so going back to my console. So I know that Auth is creating a Cognito project for me, and I can read the docs on that. My default region is usually Oregon. If I manage user pools, there should be one in here called IESD. There it is. Amplify created this for me, and I can go in and alter any of these settings, but I can also use the CLI tool to do that as well, and Amplify will update my project. If you like didn't know how to change something, you could do it through the CLI pretty easily. Because it's opinionated, so it's just gonna like ask you questions instead of like you having to find where in here you need to go to change XYZ setting. So the users are here. There is a user, that's me. confirmed my account because you all saw me confirm my email, verified true. So you can like look at your existing users in here, but basically it manages all auth and authorization. Federated identities will manage authorization for you. So when you, here's the IESD one, when you add auth, you add both authentication and authorization. Those are two different things if you're not familiar. Authentication is like when you actually authenticate and log in somewhere, like does your password and username match the one that we have in the database? And then authorization is like what permissions do you have inside of an application? And so authorization is through federated identities. It creates a project for me there as well. That's why we call it Amplify Add Auth, because it's both, instead of saying add authentication. And so what this will allow me to do is I can refine those permissions to certain things in the AWS account. So I can say like only users of this type can upload things to my S3 bucket, or can upload things on my website, period. And only users of this kind can hit that backend API that I need them to hit. So this is where you can do things like that, and this also has sample code in here, but if you're using Amplify, you don't need it. I'm gonna take you to S3 so you can see what it looks like, because I talked about it. So these are all my buckets, with an actual little picture of a bucket. And I'm sure we can find the IESD one.
So your bucket, is it like Docker or Kubernetes or something?
No, it's just like an online file system in the cloud. Yeah.
I was wondering, what's the best way to handle like multiple image uploads in one request?
Multiple image uploads. So you want to be able to select like 5 images at once and upload them?
Yeah.
Well, so you can use Amplify to do that, but that's more like JavaScript code of like what you're doing in your JavaScript versus like how your infrastructure is set up, right? Because they all have to get to the infrastructure somehow, but it's just like how you wrote your code. Whether you like did it in a loop, or if you like did like 5 async calls at once to all, I would probably do it asynchronously, unless you could do a multi-part upload and then do all of them at once.
Yeah, 'cause, I was using S3 for implementing that. And I did the same thing that you said, but I found it very hard to like find a way to do it through
Batch?
Yeah.
Through like the batch call.
I think it was a batch call. I think I just did single AP like.
Did you just use the AWS SDK and JavaScript? Is that how you did it?
I think I had a backend guy and he built a API call, and then from the front end I was using that.
So his backend call is probably what slowed you up, because it's dependent on now his backend call to actually hit AWS, but you can hit AWS directly from your front end. So AWS SDK for the browser. So this is if you didn't use Amplify. Before Amplify created, you might have gone here and actually just used the SDK to hit some services in the cloud. I'm sure Amplify has a way to upload more than one thing. Let's see if we can find it. So there's some put calls. With a ton of examples. Remove. I mean, we may not have built it yet, but we're expanding. Amplify is only a year old, so there is a batch call in the SDK though. And I'd have to find it in the docs for you. So you can do it from both like Node.js or just JavaScript, or really any language that your backend guy is using. So he's using Python, like I don't know what he's using, but we have an SDK for every language, and it's really which SDK call he's using. So you're sending him the stuff, and then he's sending it out, right?
Yeah.
So where was the point of contention?
I think it was when I would get the data back, I didn't know how to like send it to our API to store in our database for like the when we would load the
You didn't know how to hit his API?
Or no, I think it was just saving into the database that we had an issue with, because we would get like just one picture URL back, but we'd have 5 of them, so we have to like put them in an array and then find a way to save them into our API.
So usually when you do a batch put into S3, it will send you back, the keys, or you already created the keys and you told AWS put all these keys in, and then S3 URL is just like a constant. So you would just have like a constant there with the S3 URL, and then just like slash the bucket name slash the key, and then you could deposit those URLs in your database.
Is there a way, because I use this one, it's a website called Upload Care, and they had a way that when you uploaded multiple files, it just gave you like a predefined URL and then a slash, and you just put like 1, 2, and 3 of that to find your URL.
Well, I mean, like, all I'm saying is the same thing, right? So you're determining the keys of the things that you're uploading, and then you have a const, which is just the S3 URL, it doesn't change.
Right.
And then you just basically append the key, and you have 3 URLs before you even make the call.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a constant, like the S3 URL doesn't change, so the only thing you need is slash the bucket, slash the key of the item.
Right.
So it never changes, so if you just like, basically, you know, concatenate the bucket and the key, or you have the S3 URL slash bucket as a constant in your code,
Yeah.
and then you append the keys, you'll have the URLs before you even send it to S3.
Oh, okay. I'm going to have to try that out. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so where were we? I don't even know. So these are buckets, and they have things in them. So my hosting bucket is empty. Is this finished? Wow, it's still creating. Maybe stuck. Might be the Wi-Fi. Usually it's not that slow. That explains why nothing. Okay, so here is.
It's the Wi-Fi.
It's the Wi-Fi.
I'll just walk
I
away.
mean, I actually can't take the blame for this because I just joined the team yesterday, so I didn't write this code. That's all I have to say.
You're gonna fix it.
Yeah, I'll probably have to fix this bug if it's gonna be a bug, but yeah, so the deployment bucket has stuff in it. So these are the CloudFormation templates that Amplify is creating. CloudFormation, again, is just either JSON or YAML that outlines all the resources and all of the values of those resources to provision those resources in the cloud.
So you can use the resources for the pizza, right?
For pizza motor.
Yeah, so the resource there is recognition, and recognition can identify labels in a picture.
You already have the data preloaded, correct?
What data?
How is it gonna know it's a pizza?
So it's a machine learning model in the back end that's
And you have to
pre-trained
preload
to
the
detect
data, right?
images.
Right.
So that machine learning model we wrote on AWS, we trained it with millions and millions and millions of images to recognize labels of different things.
Right.
And I'm just using an API to hit and make inference off of
And
it.
so we can too, is my question.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you my code.
Oh,
You
okay,
can
I
have
didn't
it.
hear that.
It's publicly available. Let me go to my GitHub, one of these freaking GitHubs. Okay, so all of our Amplify code is open source, by the way. You're welcome to contribute to it. The code that I showed you, which was that fun code, is in a repository in my GitHub called ByteConf.
I'll look at the link.
I'm gonna throw the link right now in my PowerPoint presentation because I didn't do that. Wow.
What's the
I need to go in
GitHub
caps. What?
What's the GitHub profiles name? AWS?
Which GitHub? Mine
with
or,
that.
or Amplify's?
Amplify. Well, where is that code?
Which code are you looking for?
You're talking about.
You're talking about the code I showed you that I wrote? That's this one. This code uses Amplify to then hit recognition, hit transcribe, hit all of these machine learning APIs from my browser or my mobile device. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. I don't know what's happening. That's what happens when you talk for a living. Yes,
I know this sounds probably a silly question.
there are no such thing as silly
Okay.
questions.
So
please.
you gotta have internet connection to test your code out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're hitting APIs, but you can store things locally, like if you're using a mobile device and you need offline access, you
Right.
can cache data and do all
Okay.
kinds of things. And I have like solutions for that as well, but if it's a web app,
Of course.
I'm gonna hope that you have internet access. For a mobile app though, offline access.
Like, for, yeah, that's what it's.
Yeah.
Can you airdrop that to me and I'll just post it to Slack?
Yes.
Or if you need any
I already beat you to
edits.
it.
Did you? Gotta make sure
They
I
may
check
have
that.
blocked it from my work laptop.
Oh, yep. Cool.
Okay, I got the airport utility, that's not what I wanted. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's blocked.
Okay.
Sorry, this is an AWS laptop and Amazon blocks all kinds of weird shit. I can email it to you.
Okay.
Oh, geez, I always like type that wrong. What did I call this thing? This one. Okay, let me save it. Okay, there you go. Come on. Does the Wi-Fi here block out, what port is this? I think it's like 143 or whatever the mail app uses.
I don't think it blocks anything, it's just very slow. Very,
It's
very
client host rejected, access denied, UCREDO, it blocks it.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes. It's okay, it's like when I'm on my VPN, it also blocks the port that mail app sends out from, so I can't actually email anyone.
What port is it blocked with?
Is it 169? No, what is that? 0.
Well,
Oh,
let's see.
because it's blocked.
iCloud. It's one of these. I don't know which one iCloud uses. That's
No.
incoming 587.
Should be blocking 587.
Client host rejected, access denied. I'm not cool enough, kids. Maybe. Nope.
Well,
Okay.
we'll get it to Slack somehow.
I have an idea. I'll get on the VPN and then I will send it to you. Because
Okay.
then I'll give you VPN. Yeah, this is my Twitter, GitHub, everything. Feel free to ping me with any questions you might have about anything AWS related. It's the same everywhere you go on like every social media platform. Right.
I think one thing we haven't heard is how did you get started with coding?
How did I get started with coding? So that's a good story. Well, I was working at a job at JP Morgan, and I hated it. Literally hated it. I was managing private wealth, so I managed like over $250 million in assets. And I would mostly work from like 6 to 8, and then I would be bored from 8 to 3, which is when I went home. And so it was like my third career at that point, post-college, and I was like, okay, if not even finance is gonna entertain me, like, am I just screwed? Am I just always gonna be in a job where I'm consistently and eternally bored? So I started to think about like kind of toys that entertained me as a kid, and they were Legos and puzzles, and like I would just sit there for like hours and do a puzzle or build, play with some Legos. My mom would have to like come get me and be like, it's been 8 hours, you didn't eat lunch, like because I like just would sit there and just like I just was so focused. And I was like, okay, so maybe if I had a job that involved building and problem solving, then I would never be bored. So then I Googled that, obviously coding came up, started coding online at my desk during that, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. hours where I had 0 to do. And then after 4 months of doing that, I was like, okay, I have to like make this a real thing now because this is ridiculous. I do this every day instead of my real job. I mean, I did my real job enough to just, not get fired, but I was like, okay, I have to make this a thing. boot camps weren't actually really like a huge thing back then. Like there was like one in San Francisco called Hack Reactor, and like they weren't a thing. So like also I didn't even know if they existed. So I started Googling like post-bac programs and like going back to school for a CS degree, and none of these things would have sounded interesting to me because they all would take years and years and years of time, and I'm like really impatient as an individual, so I was like, we have to do this now. So then one day I did the search and this boot camp came up, and I was like, what the hell's a boot camp? So then I applied to Hack Reactor, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pack up all my stuff, I'm gonna move to San Francisco and live off my savings. I lived in LA. And then I applied and I waited for them to review my application, and then like a week later I just randomly did the search again, and this other boot camp had popped up in LA because it was brand new, but I didn't know that because I'm an idiot. So I was like, oh, this is perfect. I don't have to quit my job. Like I can, and this boot camp offered like a weekend program. So you do 20 hours on a weekend and 20 hours during the week on your own time. So I called them and I was like, how do I get in? And they were like, they probably thought I was silly because they were like a startup and they didn't even have an office yet. And they were like, let's meet at Starbucks. Okay, didn't think anything of it. Went to Starbucks, didn't ask a single question. Do you have any questions? I'm like, no, how do I get in? They're like, you're in. I'm like, great. I didn't even ask about a success story or anything. I just wanted to do it. Then I did that for 5 months, and then I got a job about a week after graduation. And then I realized how dumb I was because now all these bootcamp grads come to me and they're like, oh, what stack did you learn? What should I look for in a bootcamp? Did you find a job? What's the success rate of this bootcamp? All these questions that I probably should have asked, but I didn't give a shit because I just wanted to learn how to code that badly that I was like, I'll do anything to get in. What do I have to do? And the guy probably was like, we have nobody in, we don't have enough people to take this class right now. Like, sure, we'll let you in. I was in a boot camp of 5 people. That's how tiny we were. We were a startup. So now it's a huge boot camp, and now they do cohorts of like 40, 50 people. People are like desperately trying to get in.
What's the boot camp?
Savio.
Oh, I think I heard that one. My friend, he had worked with a bunch of developers that came from him.
Yep, best boot camp I'd say in the LA area for sure. Anyways, so that was almost 6 years ago now. So that's how I got started. And I was a .NET dev originally, so on a Windows machine, which like hurt my soul a little bit at the time because I had like come from the Apple Store just 3 years before that. But I got over it, and now we're here.
At the boot camp, they probably told you like buy a Windows computer and everything that you bought first.
No, I boot camped my hard drive because I had a Mac, and so then I ran Windows on my Mac. And then my instructor followed suit quickly after that and was like, that's the best thing I've ever seen. Yeah, so. No, I didn't buy a Windows machine. I wasn't about to spend any money on it. I was like, how can you get me to the finish line, like, faster? I thought about it though, yeah, but I didn't. So yeah, that's how I got my start.
Was your Mac a huge hard drive to run the bootcamp or the parallel or whatever on there?
No, I didn't run parallel, so that's like virtual machines. I
Yeah.
actually boot camped the hard drive, so I split the hard drive not in half because I didn't think that I was gonna spend a lot of gigabytes on for the Windows side. So I just split the hard drive and then I